Hey there, I'm Duckbricks, and you're watching another episode of LEGO History. Did you know that LEGO Bionicle was so successful that around partway through its run, the people behind Bionicle actually considered turning it into a separate company, something that would have been unheard of in the entire history of the LEGO group. LEGO is very protective of its brands and trademarks, but Bionicle was so different at the time that they actually were thinking of making it a more mature company focused on different types of storytelling and basically spinning out Construction into an entirely separate division of how LEGO worked. This is the untold story of how Bionicle almost became its own company, and let's jump in right now. In 2020, LEGO collaborated with book crowdfunding site Unbound to release The Secret Life of LEGO Bricks. Extremely limited edition and impossible to get or read otherwise, this book contained countless secrets of the LEGO group's 90-plus year history. And once I was able to get my hand on the book on the secondhand market, one line in particular stood out to me. The Bionicle team proposed pulling the Construction system entirely out of the LEGO group and turning it into an independent brand. This would allow them to target an older age demographic and tell stories with edgier tones. In the end, however, the company decided to keep everything under a single banner. Wait, that's it? There's no way something this monumental could be consolidated into a single line that LEGO just decided against it. That one line was initially shocking to me, and the history behind its proposal was unheard of in LEGO's entire history. No matter how different a product line or brand was, the LEGO group has never once spun out and branched their products into an entirely separate company. Until this book released, there were no instances of them even ever considering the possibility. The only example that comes remotely close is when LEGO sold the rights to operate Legoland parks to Merlin Entertainment, but still maintained creative control and later bought back the rights when LEGO's parent company acquired Merlin as a whole. Other than that brief right shift, no other existing LEGO theme has ever managed to exit the company and exist as its own IP, and in the way LEGO is running today, it doesn't make any sense for the company to do this at all. After all, why spin off an original IP into a separate company if it's already doing so well as part of the LEGO brand, a brand that LEGO maintains tight control over to ensure quality? Even stranger, when I researched that idea further, I found no documentation of this internal decision existed whatsoever online. No records of this ever being considered exist, and I couldn't find a single person, internal or external to the LEGO group, ever discussing this in any public forum. Whatever this decision was or the factors that led to it, it was a secret from the public until now. But that couldn't be it, and so I decided to go straight to the source. Back in September, I got the chance to visit Christian Faber at his headquarters, Copenhagen Rig, who of course is the creator of LEGO Bionicle. I spent the day unboxing ancient Bionicle history and learning so many different secrets and lore behind the creation of the theme. But of course I went in with a mission. I wanted to simply ask him about this line. What was the story behind it? How seriously was it discussed? And why didn't it happen? Thankfully, as expected, Chris was a wealth of information on the topic. And here's the story. In our first episode of LEGO History, we covered Project Genesis, LEGO's failed attempt to build themselves out into an action figure-focused ecosystem, starting and ending with the abysmal failure of LEGO Galador in 2002. With the shuttering of Project Genesis, LEGO had an accidental hit on their hands with the Bionicle building system, which had become so popular as its own niche in the LEGO portfolio that the Bionicle team considered doing something drastic. Realizing that by and large, most canister scale sets use their own mold sets, pieces, and unique elements more difficult if not impossible to use in standard brick-based LEGO building sets, the internal teams working on Bionicle proposed the possibility of splitting the LEGO company in two. One kid-focused brand telling stories and making sets with system bricks, and another separate company focused entirely on just construction. From the outset, this idea seemed to initially solve a lot of problems that had come up over Bionicle's run. Year after year, more element frames, which we talked about in episode 2 of LEGO History covering why molds are destroyed, were allocated to Bionicle in a constant flow. Each new Bionicle set required new mask molds, new weapon molds, and oftentimes a variety of new limbs, feet, armor, and more. This design philosophy was directly at odds with the LEGO brick system of play. And since Bionicle as a theme was eating up so much budget with the new molds, it was harder and harder to continue expanding this brick-based system of play. Spinning off all of construction from Bionicle to Knight's Kingdom would allow LEGO to essentially refocus on brick-based sets, and the budget for Bionicle to be managed under an entirely separate group with different principles and priorities. Furthermore, by 2006 and beyond, the Bionicle story had not only gotten incredibly complicated, but also very dark and mature, especially for a LEGO theme. With the story dealing with genocide, religious conflict, and the brutal death of many major characters, it had become nearly unrecognizable as a LEGO-branded IP. In fact, this juxtaposition of the bright red and playful LEGO logo alongside the grim and desolate packaging of the 2006 NICA sets resulted in the LEGO logo being placed in the corner of the canisters, almost as if the products were embarrassed to be associated with the brand. And in some sense, they were. Bionicle's core customer persona was what LEGO considered to be the quote-unquote quintessential American child. First dubbed Bully Bob and later Bionicle Boy, this fellow had a short attention span, and thus wouldn't spend hours constructing a detailed model with bricks, enjoyed violent roleplay with action figures, and most importantly, would be more interested in an overarching story behind a toy line rather than the toys themselves. As Bionicle lasted longer and grew in popularity, the story became LEGO's most dense, mature, and convoluted lore-based theme to date, which was almost too mature for LEGO's liking, especially by 2006. With other branches of LEGO as a company wanting to distance themselves from the grim nature of the theme's story, and the Bionicle team themselves wanting to market themselves as unassociated with what they believed to be the childlike immaturity of the LEGO brand at the time, it seemed like a no-brainer to split the company in two. As such, the proposed concept detailed a brand new direction and company for LEGO Construction as a whole. This new company would not just focus on its flagship product Bionicle, but be a vessel for targeting an older age demographic, allowing them to tell edgier stories. Pitching themes inspired by steampunk, fantasy, and Warhammer 40k, the team wanted to focus on using construction in the Bionicle part catalog as an entire building system, where much like LEGO themselves had a myriad of themes that use the brick as a building system, they could develop a full system of their own. Some of the ideas pitched included demons, monsters, griffins, mecha, and more. Unfortunately, as we all know, this concept never came to be, but the reasons surrounding it are much more complex than we initially thought. Despite seriously considering this proposal when it was brought up around the 2006 era, by the time this change was meant to roll out, Bionicle sales were beginning to decline. The theme sales slowed significantly around the mid-2000s as children who fell in love with it during those first 5 years began to grow out of playing with toys in general. Due to the high bar of entry, their younger siblings' generation did not embrace Bionicle nearly as enthusiastically, leading to the storied theme's cancellation in 2010, only halfway through a planned 20-year run. And of course, by 2008, the decision was made to sunset Bionicle in the following year, as LEGO was concerned that declining sales would cause retailers to no longer want to stock the products. At this point, it no longer made sense to spin construction out to its own company. It was barely getting by as part of LEGO's larger portfolio. While it may have been a serious proposal in 2006, while the theme was still going strong and other construction-focused themes like Knight's Kingdom and Exoforce just launched, it was ultimately an unfortunate result of poor planning. By the time LEGO was open to seriously considering it, Bionicle sales were beginning to decline. And even beyond poor sales, there were a number of other reasons as to why LEGO ultimately decided against a split. Chief of their concerns surrounding the potential harmful impact on the larger LEGO brand that a spin-off company focusing on more mature content and tones would have. Despite it being handled as a separate company, Bionicle still originated with and was heavily associated with LEGO, and taking it in an even more mature direction could reflect badly on the core morals and image of LEGO as a kid-friendly company. Furthermore, despite most Bionicle elements not being used in standard system brick-based sets, the theme still had deep roots in LEGO Technic, a ubiquitous system of beams and gears that was widespread in both LEGO and Bionicle sets. Should the two companies spin off, who would manage Technic? And what if a system set wanted to use a Bionicle piece, like the 2007 Baraki in its own lines, or vice versa? With so many blurred lines between the two systems, the superficial move to split them off from a branding perspective started looking more and more like a bad decision. And so, by 2008, the company decided to keep everything under one banner, and cancel Bionicle shortly thereafter while they rethought their entire construction strategy. Nevertheless, the roadwork behind this proposal can still be seen in LEGO's history and modern elements today. By 2011, LEGO launched ccbs, the character and creature building system, uniting action figure-based play under one system of pieces. Not only did Bionicle's direct successor, Hero Factory, use the system, but it was also implemented across other licensed and non-licensed themes alike, including DC and Marvel superheroes, Legends of Chima, Star Wars, and Bionicle Generation 2. And while the system of ball and socket based play lasted from 2011 to 2018, truly realizing the vision behind the original separate company proposal, declining sales and shockingly poor product performance in 2017 caused LEGO to sunset the entire system, discontinuing nearly every single piece associated with ccbs and ultimately destroying all the molds. Today, LEGO is more united than ever. Recent depictions of action figures in the modern LEGO portfolio are almost purely brick-built, focused on consolidating molds and using existing parts to their fullest potential. As we covered in the last episode of LEGO history, it's simply no longer feasible for the company to operate like they did in the old days of Bionicle G1. New sets can get a couple new molds per theme at most, and the focus of the company is solely on the brick, where construction can only exist as part of the LEGO brick system, for better or for worse. And despite this idea never coming to pass, it's fascinating to speculate what could have been. If Bionicle sales didn't decline circa 2006 to 2008, there's a very real possibility the world of LEGO as we know it today could be completely different. A solely construction-focused company, or even subdivision of LEGO, is certainly a compelling topic for speculation, and I'd love to hear your ideas as to what this hypothetical company may have produced. And while it never came to be, the concept of a separate construction-based company definitely impacted how LEGO operated in the late 2000s and even early 2020s, and who knows what may have happened if it went through. That's all for this episode of LEGO History, but stay tuned for much more coming very soon. Alright, and with that we have summed up this episode of LEGO History. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know down in the comments below, did you know about this? And hopefully, if not, you learned something. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm so curious what your ideas for an original company focused only on LEGO-based construction would look like, but alas, it never came to be. Thanks all so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. And next time, we take a look at another original LEGO theme and see the original gimmick behind LEGO Ninjago's early history. Until then, see you later.